Picture this. You're standing in front of the mirror on a random Tuesday afternoon, and suddenly tears start streaming down your face. No warning, no clear reason, just tears. Or maybe you've noticed yourself saying no to a friend's request, and then spending the next 3 hours spiraling, convinced you're turning into a cold, selfish person. What if I told you these moments, the ones that make you question if you're actually getting better or just getting weirder, aren't signs of failure at all? What if they're actually quiet proof that, beneath the surface, you're healing in ways you can't yet see? This video is your map to recognize the invisible progress you've been making all along. If this journey of inner transformation calls to you, consider subscribing. We walk this path together, uncovering the truths that others often overlook. Healing isn't linear. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or celebration posts. It doesn't look like perfectly journaled pages or mountaintop epiphanies. Most of the time, healing feels like nothing. Or worse, it feels like you're going backwards. You're more emotional than before. You're pulling away from people. You're questioning relationships you used to accept without a second thought. And in those moments, when you look at yourself and wonder, am I even making progress? That's exactly when you need to see these signs. Today, I'm walking you through 8 silent signals that your nervous system, your heart, and your soul are doing the deep work of repair, even when your mind can't see it yet. Some of these might surprise you. The 5th one completely changed how I saw my own journey. Let's begin. 1. You're crying more, and that's sacred. There's this moment when emotions start surfacing more easily. Maybe it's a commercial that gets you, a song on the radio, or sometimes it's nothing you can even name. Just this wave that crashes over you out of nowhere. You're not too sensitive or losing it. You're thawing. For years, maybe you had to freeze your emotions just to survive. Crying felt dangerous, like if you started, you'd never stop. So you built these walls of ice around your heart, thick enough to walk on, strong enough to hold everything in. But now, those walls are melting. And melting ice is messy, it's unpredictable, it soaks everything. Your tears aren't weakness. They're your body finally feeling safe enough to release what it's been holding. Each tear carries a story your words couldn't tell. It's emotional detox in its purest form. Think of it this way: frozen lakes can't support life. The water can't breathe. Nothing can grow. Only when the ice breaks, when things get messy and fluid again, can life return. So the next time you find yourself crying for what feels like no reason, remember, you're not breaking down, you're breaking open. And that's where healing begins. And speaking of things that feel contradictory, 2, you're choosing solitude, not loneliness. Do you find yourself canceling plans more often, craving time alone in a way that feels almost primal? Like your soul is pulling you inward, away from the noise? You're not becoming antisocial, you're becoming selective. There's a profound difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a wound. It aches from disconnection, from feeling unseen. But solitude? Solitude is medicine. When you're healing, your energy is precious. It's like a phone battery sitting at 15%. You can't afford to waste it on draining conversations, performative friendships, or spaces where you have to shrink yourself just to fit in. You're not hiding. You're rebuilding your inner home, and homes under construction need quiet. They need workers, not tourists. Maybe you used to say yes to every invitation out of obligation, out of fear of being seen as difficult or boring. Now you stay home with a book on a Friday night, and you don't feel guilty. That's not regression, that's sovereignty. Your solitude isn't emptiness. It is actually the most crowded room you've ever been in, filled with all the parts of yourself you're finally getting to know. The ones you silenced, the ones you abandoned, the ones you're now inviting back, one quiet evening at a time. But here's where it gets interesting. Healing changes not just how you spend time alone, but how you show up when you do connect with others. 3. You're setting boundaries that feel mean. Have you said no recently, and then spiraled for hours afterward, convinced you're becoming a terrible person? That discomfort you feel, It's not evidence you're wrong. It's evidence you're growing. For people who've been conditioned to please, prioritize, and accommodate, people who learned early that their safety depended on other people's comfort, boundaries don't feel like self-care. They feel like betrayal. Your nervous system was trained to send alarm bells the moment you prioritize yourself. So when you finally say, "I can't help you move this weekend," or "I need space to think about this," your body thinks, danger. They'll abandon you. They'll think you're selfish. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors. They're you deciding who gets access to your energy, your time, your heart, and under what conditions. A friend asks you to cover their shift again like they always do. The old you would have said yes immediately, while resentment simmered just beneath the surface. New you says, "I can't this time, but I hope you find someone." It feels harsh, it feels cold, but you're learning something revolutionary. No to them is yes to yourself. The guilt you feel when setting boundaries, that's not your conscience speaking, that's your conditioning. And conditioning can be rewritten, one uncomfortable no at a time. Now, while your relationships are changing, something even deeper is shifting. 4. You're questioning everything you once accepted. Are you suddenly doubting relationships, jobs, beliefs you never questioned before? Does it feel like everything solid is turning to sand beneath your feet? You're not being ungrateful or overthinking. You're waking up. Healing has this side effect nobody warns you about: clarity. And clarity is disruptive. It's like you've been living in a house with dimmed lights for years. You navigated fine. You knew where all the furniture was, you made it work. Then one day, someone turns on all the lights, and suddenly you see the cracks in the walls, the dust on the shelves, the doors that don't actually lead anywhere. You're not being negative, you're finally seeing. Maybe it's the friendship where you realize you're always the listener, never the herd. Or the family tradition that always made you anxious but you attended anyway because that's just what we do. Or the career path you chose to please someone else, not yourself. Now you're asking, do I actually want this? Or did I just accept it because it was easier, because it was expected? This questioning phase feels chaotic. It feels ungrateful. But it's not destruction, it's excavation. You're digging for the real you underneath the acceptable you. The version that's been buried under expectations, obligations, and other people's definitions of who you should be. And as you excavate, something unexpected starts happening with your body. If any of these signs are hitting close to home, if you're recognizing yourself in these quiet transformations, take a breath. You're exactly where you need to be. And if you want to keep exploring this path of self-discovery with a community that truly understands, consider subscribing. Every week, we dive deeper into the invisible work of healing, the kind that doesn't get celebrated but changes everything. Now, let's continue, because the next 4 signs get even more subtle. 5. Your body reacts differently to stress. Have you noticed your body sending you signals you used to ignore? Like exhaustion after social events you used to power through, or nausea before certain situations you once handled just fine. You're not becoming weak. You're becoming fluent in your body's language. For years, maybe you pushed through everything, ignored the tension headaches, dismissed the stomach knots, told yourself, "I'm fine," when every cell was screaming otherwise. That was survival mode. Override all warnings, keep moving, don't stop or you'll fall apart. But now you're in healing mode. And in this mode, the whispers from your body that you once ignored have become clear, undeniable truths. This person drains you. This environment isn't safe. This decision doesn't align with who you're becoming. You used to power through family dinners that left you exhausted for days afterward. Now your body tenses up the moment you pull into the driveway. And instead of ignoring it, dismissing it as anxiety or weakness, you listen. Maybe you leave early. Maybe you don't go at all. Your body isn't betraying you with these reactions, it's protecting you. It's your most loyal ally. Finally trusted enough to speak up. Finally heard. Finally heard. Speaking of trust, here's where things get really interesting. 6. You're attracted to different content and conversations. Have you noticed yourself losing interest in gossip, drama, or surface-level small talk? Do deeper conversations suddenly feel magnetic, while shallow ones feel almost painful? Your soul is recalibrating its frequency. Think of healing like tuning a radio. When you're wounded, you're stuck on a static-filled station. Chaos, drama, distraction. It's loud, but at least it's something. At least you don't have to sit with silence. At least you don't have to feel. But as you heal, you start turning the dial, slowly, carefully. And suddenly you pick up a different frequency, one that's quieter, deeper, more intentional. You can't tolerate the noise anymore. Not because you're judging it, but because it literally doesn't match your vibration. It feels dissonant, jarring. You used to scroll social media for hours, numbing out on other people's highlight reels and manufactured outrage. Now, you're reading books on psychology, listening to podcasts about personal growth, or simply sitting in silence with your thoughts. Your algorithm, both internal and external, is shifting. This isn't you becoming boring or no fun. This is you becoming interested in substance over stimulation, depth over distraction, connection over consumption. And as your interests shift, so does something even more profound. 7. You're grieving things that aren't dead. Do you find yourself mourning the person you used to be, or the life you thought you'd have by now? The version of yourself that was lighter, easier, less complicated? This grief isn't depression, it's transformation in progress. There's this kind of loss nobody prepares you for, the loss of your old self. Not the traumatized self, but the coping self, the one who made it work, the one who kept everyone happy, the one who smiled through pain and called it resilience. You're grieving the person you had to be to survive, because that person, as exhausted as they were, is familiar, known, safe even. Letting them go feels like a death, because it is. You're dying to an old version and being reborn into a truer one. And all births involve labor, blood, and tears. Maybe you catch yourself thinking, I used to be so easygoing. I used to handle everything. And there's sadness there, not for the dysfunction, but for the innocence, for the version of you who didn't know what you know now. This grief is sacred. It's your heart acknowledging I survived something that should have broken me. And now I'm choosing to become someone new, someone more authentic, someone who doesn't just survive, but lives. Which brings us to perhaps the most paradoxical sign of all. 8. You're feeling worse before you feel better. Does it feel like the more you work on yourself, the more broken you feel? Like healing is making things worse, not better. You're not imagining it, and you're not failing, you're in the messy middle. Imagine you've been living in a house with a hidden leak. For years you didn't see it. You just dealt with the damp smell, the peeling wallpaper, the mold creeping up the corner. You adapted, you made it work. Then one day, you decide to actually fix it, so you tear open the wall. And suddenly you see the full extent of the damage. Rotted wood, rusted pipes, water everywhere. It looks catastrophic. It looks worse. It feels worse. But here's the truth. It was always this bad. You just couldn't see it before. Now you can. And seeing it is the only way to truly heal it. You start therapy, and suddenly you're more anxious, not less. You begin journaling, and all the suppressed emotions flood the pages like a dam breaking. You set boundaries, and people get upset. Relationships shift, and you wonder if you made a mistake. It feels like you're going backwards, like you were better off in denial, in numbness, in the familiar dysfunction. But you weren't better off. You were just paused. And numbness isn't peace, it's just the absence of feeling. What you're experiencing now, the discomfort, the mess, the rawness, that's not brokenness. That's consciousness. You're awake. And being awake means feeling everything you've been skillfully avoiding for years. So if you're in this phase right now, the one where healing feels harder than hurting, let me tell you something important. These 8 signs, the tears that come without warning, the solitude you now crave, the boundaries that feel uncomfortable, the questions that won't stop coming, the body that finally speaks up, the interests that shift toward depth, the grief for who you used to be, and the feeling that you're somehow getting worse. They're not proof you're failing. They're proof you're fighting, not against the world, but for yourself. Healing isn't a straight line from broken to fixed. It's a spiral. You'll revisit the same wounds at deeper levels. You'll think you've moved past something, then it resurfaces. That's not failure. That's mastery. You're not going in circles. You're going upward in spirals, seeing the same lessons from higher perspectives, with more wisdom each time. So the next time you cry for no clear reason, or cancel plans to stay home, or set a boundary that makes you feel guilty, or question everything you once accepted, remember, this is what healing looks like when nobody's watching. This is the invisible work that transforms everything. Your sensitivity isn't fragility. It's your superpower finally coming online. Your solitude isn't isolation, it's reclamation. Your questioning isn't ingratitude, it's discernment. You're not broken, you're breaking open. And that's exactly where the light gets in. Now I want to hear from you. And please be honest. Which of these 8 signs resonated most deeply? Which one made you stop and think, oh, that's what that is? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today, that they're not alone in this messy, beautiful process of becoming whole again. If this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to continue this journey with us. Every week we explore the inner landscape together, the parts of healing nobody talks about but everyone experiences. And for your next step on this path, I invite you to watch 10 Secret Signs You Have Invisible Scars. Because understanding where these healing signs come from, recognizing the invisible scars that shaped you, can deepen your self-awareness even further. You're not just healing anymore, you're evolving, and you never have to walk this path alone.